Hello and welcome back to the next One Piece review and discussion. We are here with a chapter we were probably expecting to occur, but there is a lot to digest in terms of what Eam is truly capable of. So, without further ado, chapter 1180, Omen. The cover story request this week is Vegapunk has sort of scientifically engineered Zeus to be able to rain candy, and we see Chopper is in love with this creation. So, a pretty nice chapter cover story we've got here. But nevertheless, we have a more pressing issue on our hands. So, last that we had left off, we were with the Gorosei, they were all discussing, Garling turns up. Eam has declared that they are leaving. They are leaving Marijois, they are leaving the flower room to go down to the surface world for a short time. Now, a lot of the Gorosei, a lot of the Five Elders were against this idea. And Garling is so militaristic, is so driven by this show of force and power that they have a need to demonstrate as leaders. And he's very clearly telling these guys, we have no right to say no to Eam here. The Great One is saying this, and we are to just accept it. So Eam blinks off, summoning circle appears and leaves. We see a short interaction between York, who is obviously being brought to Marijois to help recreate or take care of the Mother Flame and stuff. So we see an interaction of her sort of sparring with Garling, as it were, and Garling seeing this as penance because she's wanting all this food, but they're currently on food rations with all the war that's happening and all the attacks. But it's an interesting dynamic they've got building with each other. But once we go back to Elbaf, we see they've dealt with obviously the Holy Knights as we've seen, and they come across Summer's steel heart. They see it beaten, and Zoro is the one who is starting to figure out how they can actually take these guys down properly if needed. And Summer was like pissing himself. He was like, shit, like, secret's out now. But just in time to save the day, well, Summer's day, was these giant pillars of black flame that Nami and the others had watched in the distance erupt, because like Loki had appeared at the school now. They were looking for food. Luffy was needing to refuel because he was in his exhausted form. They were fueling up at the school, whereas on the other side of the branch, on the western village, was where Eam appeared. Now, Eam had such a monumental entrance. It was nuts. So they first appeared inside the castle, no one around, and started just to like splutter blood. Like the instant they hit the surface world, just blood. So whether it was because they've left Marijois, whether it's because the exertion of the teleportation, but Shamrock and Gunko didn't experience that. So we don't quite know what's going on with Eam here. But nevertheless, the transformation occurs. Part of the castle is just annihilated. And Eam, in full display for the first time, appears on the tip of one of the sort of castle turrets. And they are this hugely demonic, curved horned, white hair individual, and he looks phenomenal. Like, this is the antagonist we've been waiting for and been building towards for so long. And we start this chapter with an even closer display of him. And Eam is terrifying here, like full devil, full demon. We've got those black clouds that have all got eyes in it. He's just wearing a waistband and like pants, and like, or he's like sort of got these rings of black flame that are constantly coating his legs. We see that his tattoos, we saw like these lines and like sort of ritualistic like eyes that are like present on his hands. One that goes down his chest, but we see that he's just got like this sort of like almost polka dot like tattoos covering his body. We see he's got a very Lunarian complexion to him, and judging from now we're seeing him and what we've seen a little bit, he's not like full giant size. He is more the size of Kaido Big Mom-esque in comparison. So not as big as a giant, as we'll see in a little bit, but he's certainly an imposing figure. Now there is something to note with his design here, which is really cool and maybe foretelling. So this sort of heavy bottom half that he's sort of branding here, it looks like his tail is similar to like Gunko's arrow. It is like fully wrapped around his legs, like it loops like 3 or 4 times before it like curves off into the spiked like demon tail that we see. But present on those like wrappings, specifically on 3 separate wraps around his leg, we see 3 skulls. Very akin to Blackbeard's 3 skulls or Rox's 3 skulls. So is this a connection very subtly being set up with the idea of these like 3 souls, 3 bodies, whatever it may be, that we've had still needing to be answered, to be fair, about Blackbeard. But why specifically are 3 skulls being used? So I think this is a big connection now and setup we're getting to maybe be a connection between Ian and Blackbeard, or what might become of the 2 of them, and them becoming the end game antagonist or the end boss of One Piece here. But enough theorising. The 3 skulls definitely mean something now. We see Eam declares to the whole village who is the king of this country. Now, interesting that he starts with this, knowing it was Harold, knowing Harold is no longer here. How is he not kept in touch at all with the goings on of Elbaf? What has Eam really been doing this whole time, if not being this omnipotent god or king of the world, as it's written, to know what's going on? So clearly, ever since the sort of what happened with Harold and losing that connection, Eam has just abandoned any prospect of trying to go after Elbaf or even like check in, I guess. So he's clearly wanting to know who the king is for now. But Broggy and Dory are the ones to shout, we don't have a king. Who the hell are you? And this is insane. The first display of Eam's power doesn't get a panel. And I mean, this dude is up on a castle turret at this point, and they are all the way down in the village. Eam looks down at Summer, who is currently in Gerd's hand. So remember last chapter we had his body was like cut in half. Gerd had his top half like between finger and thumb in one arm, and his legs were dangling finger and thumb in the other. So she was kind of like jokingly being like, oh, they're like magnets, they're pulling together when they get close, but I'm keeping them apart. So she was just pinching Summer's body, as it were, very casually. And this man, this dude, Eam, just the panel does no one normally in anime or in like manga, there's a movement, we get to see something, the character jumps, runs, whatever it may be. No, we go from Eam stood on the turret, Eam looking and catching Summer with his eye, And then the next panel is Gerd losing her fingers. And I mean, there is just a hard cut to Gerd looking down at Summer falling from her grasp, and the finger and thumb of Gerd's both hands have just been chopped off, and they're falling with Summer. And everyone, like, there is no reaction, because then it jumps to Eames appeared, and he's like, Summer, what are you doing? Just casually, just, what's it going? How's it going, Summer? Like, what are you up to? Like, such a casual thing. And Gerd doesn't even, like recognise it before, like, she looks down again and just wails in pain. And everyone freaks out. They're like, who is this dude? What's just happened? Like, this is awful. Like, what is this guy on? And we see Zorro, like, sort of slide in. We see here now the matchup of Zorro's like not even maybe half of Eames' full size here, staring down. Summer grabs a hold of his heart and he's like, woof, like, we're good, we're okay. And Zorro asks Eames, oh, are you another Holy Knight? Not talking to, doesn't realise who this guy actually is. And Hyruden jumps into action for what he's done to Gerd. He's an enemy, doesn't matter who he is. And Stanzen sees it coming. He's like, Hyruden, don't do it. And Ian looks over and Stanzen kicks Hyruden out of the way before a lightning fast slash from this giant, pole arm weapon that Eam is wielding. And Stanzen loses a leg. Just clean cut below the knee. Stanzen loses a leg. Gerd lost her fingers. Stanzen has just lost a leg. Eam is not holding back here, and this is just a small display of what we're about to see. This is just sheer power and speed at this point. Eam is on another level entirely. We see that in this frame, it's not so much that the black flames are like what we saw with Lucci or the five elders. They don't like wrap around. The black flames form like a perfect circle behind Eam with the eyes in it, so they're not fully wrapping his body at this point. They're like a halo just behind his head. And we see Stanzen goes down, Hyruden freaks out, and the panic sets in, like, this guy's bad news, we've got to get away. Zorro, big attack here, his Purgatory Onigiri comes in, and Eam just blocks it with his tail. Like, dead ass looks this man in the eye and says, that is one of your strongest attacks, but my tail's enough. And we see he makes a sort of hand gesture and says, Omen. And these black flames begin to appear. And then, like we saw with when St. J. Garcia Saturn first appeared on Egghead, and they were told, oh, look away, you can't look at his presence unless you're a Vice Admiral or higher. And a lowly Marine looked at Saturn's form, and he took like a massive head blast of Haki, like a headshot almost. The exact same thing happens here to Zorro. We see like a massive blood spray. Zorro gets absolutely annihilated in the head. We don't see the damage, but Zorro goes down immediately, and Chopper freaks out, like, panicked at what he's witnessing. Hyruden leaps in, and he's like, his muscles have got muscles, like he's jumping in furious. And again, the hand sign, the flames appear, and we see now within the flames this like small devil face appear before Hyruden just gets like blown up, like half a page of just a massive fiery explosion, point blank fireball at High Rudin, and he just gets sent flying into the buildings. And we see him, like, huge body burning. He goes down, and we just see, people are freaking out, like, what are these black flames doing? It is nuts. And we see Summer looks up, like, kneeling, looking up at Eve, and these sort of black flames form a circle above Summer. And Summer's like, oh my god, this is it. This is an omen. And the flames touch Summer. They go behind his head as well. And it's like he's being blessed. He's invigorated with strength again. Back to his normal self. And we see Eam just in casual conversation with Summer. He's like, right, Summer, we've got to be quick. There's no time to waste. Both of them stood there. He's knelt in front of Eam. And then instantly they've both jumped in separate directions. Summer's gone one way, Eam's gone the other. They don't care about what's happening here. Certainly Eam doesn't. Eam has more pressing matters. But I'm very fascinated by this interaction completely. Like, Eam has been around for so long. He is the king of the world, as it says, he's sat at the top. But the way he talks to Summer here was not a way I had any belief that he would speak to his subordinates. I thought he would look down on everyone, but he seems to have some sort of level of, I wouldn't really call it camaraderie or respect, but like there is some order to it, I guess, but he's not being very vindictive or malicious in how he's treating Summer here. He's giving him power, he's looking after him, and Summer is happy to take it. So they jump off. Everyone's dealing with the injured. Chopper's like, we need to get Zoro inside, get everyone out. Everyone's passed out as it is anyway, and Joru's just sort of looking around like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what was that? And above the skies of Elbaf, heading in the direction of the school, is Eam, who has now just sprouted these black wings and is in full flight towards the school where all the straw hats are. We hear an announcement that there is someone even more dangerous than the God's Knight who has appeared. No one, approach, everyone, avoid if you can, be on alert. And we see the other villagers in, brief panels, reacting like it's not over, what are we going to do? We're still trying to put fires out and stop the buildings, Eam, flying along, just a casual, flight through, sees Gunko trapped in the ice, the ice that Loki told us last chapter. Only Ragnar can unthaw that ice. The ice that's created from Ragnar, only he can dispel it. So Ian just kind of flies by, points the bottom end of his weapon that have the black flames around it at the ice. And again, that small sort of demonic little flame cloud shoots out and just ignites the ice. And I guarantee you, Gunko is now free and has been blessed with this omen that Eam's able to give. We see Gabon is now back by the tree, still just sat recovering, and it's what is this level of haki I'm feeling? This is even beyond what I've felt at God Valley, because remember, it was Saturn with Eam in possession. And even the God Valley incident didn't get Eam to actually appear himself. It was Usopp calling him out, got Eam to come down here. So, actually mad. So even Gabon's shaking at this point, being like, this is, we're cooked. This is done, surely. But we can see they've ignited the food at the school because obviously it was covered in ice. So clearly Lilith has burnt it all or tried to heat it all up. Loki, Ragnar, and Luffy, the new monster trio here, are eating away, trying to get their fuel because they can feel something crazy is approaching. Nami is rushing in, Usopp and Brook are still on the ground. They're like, what is this terrifying Haki? Like, what's going on? Is it a god knight? Like, what are we waiting for here? Like, who's coming towards us? And as they are talking, as they are in conversation, behind them, Killingham is obviously wrapped up against the tree. He was hanging, wasn't he, from how Sanji had him. And he just exclaims, "Oh, great one, an omen, thank heavens." And his body breaks from the branches, it reforms, and that black circle hits his body. And he is now reinvigorated. And what's even more terrifying is they look at Killingham and they look back at like the space in the school, and there is a huge flame circle, and Eam has just landed in the centre. We don't see an impact. He's just there. Huge levels of flames and Haki coming off still. He looks so badass here. And they're like, yeah, Sanji, that guy's really dangerous. Like, Jinbei is being so cautious right now. Sanji doesn't care. He's like, who said you could free this man? Rushes up into Eam, goes to do a big, spinning kick, and Eam just brings up his foot. And his foot's massive in comparison to Sanji. Blocks the blow, and Sanji's like, oh, I done fucked up. And then the other foot swings round, and Eam ignites again. Black flames send Sanji flying. We don't see how Sanji's looking here, but it's probably bad. We see these black flames. Jinbei's like, this is nuts. And then a foot, massive foot, impacts next to Eam. And he's like, what business have you got on Elbaf? And we see Eam looks up for the first time, looks up and says, 14 years ago, Harold was killed here, and I've come to find the one responsible. He was my servant after all. Why has Eam waited 14 years to do this? Why couldn't he have just done it the moment he knew Harold died? Another discussion maybe, but Eam's here to enact what he wants. He's like, I'm here to find out. And Loki is stood there going, like hell, he was your servant. My father, the one who was the king of Elbaf, he's more than what you think. And anyway, I'm the one you're looking for then. And he's looking up, and this final page, this double page we've got here of Loki, surrounded by black clouds and lightning, looking very intimidating, and Eam looking up. What a beautiful frame we've got here. Eam is like, and you realise how many tribulations could have been avoided if you hadn't have done that. And Loki literally calls him out after him saying, 14 years ago, I've been looking for the guy who killed him. He's like, where in the world would I be but Elbaf? Do you know what I mean? To have took down Harold. But he looks pissed, and he's like, you're going to remember that your next time. And there is a stare off to end the chapter. And it felt short, but so much happened, because that was what we were expecting. We knew there would come a chapter. As soon as we knew Eam was getting involved here on Elbaf, as soon as it was happening, we called it early on. There will come a chapter where we would just see Eam on full display. And what we saw was incredible strength, speed, this omen that he's gifted, but not only gifted, there is also a negative effect if he wanted to be. So it's such a versatile power that these black flames are causing. He can bless and empower the God's Knight. He can blow up Sanji and headshot Zoro and make him bleed immediately. Like, this dude is gonna be a real powerhouse to take down in this moment. We do get to see that this black cape that he has been wearing, we see on full display here, that demonic covenant that Harold was getting branded on his arm is the same sigil now that is on the back of Eames' cloak here. Pretty cool to see. But my god, what a chapter. Like, Oda's not holding back now. Gerd losing her fingers. Stanton lost a leg. There is a good chance that someone is not making it out of this arc. Because look at what we're seeing from Eve. Look at the power he wields. There is no way there is a good ending to this arc. Like, this is going to be devastating. But let me know what you thought of this chapter. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.